John, I rather suspect David Cameron will get a markedly different reception to that which he got last month when, you remember, he came back from that summit where he played the veto card and was greeted like a hero, with Tory MPs metaphorically throwing sort of garlands of olive leaves at his feet. And this time, I suspect, rather a different reception. Let's find out how different. I'm joined by the Tory MP Mark Reckless and Labour's Europe spokeswoman Emma Reynolds. What sort of reception do you think Mr Cameron is going to get from the Tory benches?
Well, I think there'll be a lot of personal support for the Prime Minister, but I think what we've learned is that we don't have a veto in Europe, and back in December we said we wouldn't let the other countries use the EU institutions unless there was unanimity on financial services in future. We didn't achieve that, yet we are letting those other countries use the institutions, so we haven't achieved what we wanted. And I think as we haven't got a veto in Europe, the only way forward now is to have a referendum on our membership of the EU.
Hang on a second, I don't understand this. I thought David Cameron came back and he said, we've got a veto. You're saying no. He came back and he didn't have that.
Well, it hasn't been effective. We said...
So what did he get?
I mean, it's a very good question.
Okay, well, let me ask you, Emma Reynolds. What do you think the Prime Minister came back with for the last summit?
Well, we said at the time it wasn't a veto, it was a walkout, because a veto suggests that he had stopped something happening. He didn't stop anything happening. We've got a European treaty now that is going to be overseen by the European Court of Justice. He made promises to his backbenchers that he couldn't keep about saying that EU institutions shouldn't be used. He's effectively stopped nothing happening, and at the same time not got any safeguards about decisions on the single market that affect us being taken with us at the table.
But hasn't he got an assurance that if the EU institutions are used in any way that compromises the single market, then he could still take legal action against the other countries?
Yes, but that would be a very extreme circumstance. What the Polish government have done is they've said they want a voice at these Eurozone summits, even if they don't have a vote, so that they can guarantee that Eurozone countries don't stray into areas like the single market that affect the 27.
Isn't what's happened here, Mark Reckless, just what always happens, in that when you go to Brussels, you have to do deals with other countries. That is the nature of the Brussels process. So isn't it being a bit unrealistic, and aren't you setting the bar a bit high to imagine that somehow Mr Cameron could do something fundamentally different?
Well, I mean, like I think many of your viewers, I wanted to give the Prime Minister the benefit of the doubt back in December. He came back and saying there had been a veto, he wasn't going to let this go forward unless we got these particular protections. We haven't got those, yet he's allowing things to go forward. And I think, as you say, this is how things work in Europe. We don't, in reality, have a veto. And that's why what I want to see with an organisation called the People's Pledge, that's going to have a series of constituency referendums, is for the British people to have a say once and for all as to whether we want to stay in Europe or whether we want to be an independent country.
Even though you may not approve of the fact that Mr Cameron has, in your view, not actually achieved this veto, do you nevertheless accept that if we were to go in now and demand that sort of assurance, it would be a huge distraction for the Eurozone countries who need to focus all their efforts on the moment and trying to get their act together economically, rather than getting sucked into fisticuffs with the UK?
No, I don't. I mean, what the Prime Minister asked for last time was an extraordinarily modest demand, and what's astonishing is that even that very modest demand hasn't been agreed, and it's because we can't influence things in Europe, because there's 27 other countries who want to go in an entirely different direction, that we need to look again at our relationship with Europe and give the British people a say in a referendum.
Emma Reynolds, I suspect what many people will find curious is there seems to be almost a degree of convergence between yourselves and many sceptics in criticising David Cameron's position.
Well, we said from the outset, when he did walk out in December, that it was a walkout, not a veto, and the Eurosceptics have taken a while to come round to that way of thinking, but they are there now.
Is this a deliberate tilt by the Labour Party to sound more sceptical?
No, we are a pragmatic, patriotic, pro-European party, but we believe that what the Prime Minister did in December was do a disservice to the British people by walking out. Well, we would have stayed in the room, and we would have negotiated a different deal. We have severe concerns about the fiscal straitjacket that the European Union countries want to put on other countries in the Eurozone, and whether that will resolve the Eurozone crisis, which is, as you said, the priority for now.
Okay, Emma Reynolds and Mark Reckless, thank you so much. Well, I think that gives you a sense of the sort of reception that David Cameron might face in the Commons, and he'll be on his feet just after 3:30.